One of the biggest issues with Domination is, of course, the lack of maps, as we clip through Noctilus's face there. And, of course, Turin's map pack seeks to remedy that, or the Total Tavern map pack, rather, by Turin. Well, the mod itself is not by Turin. The maps are by various mod authors, but put together sort of by him and his team. And Medley today going to be taking her Vampire Coast against Spore's Empire on the, I believe this is the Celestial Lake map from the pack. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Creative Assembly has the resources even to add these community-made maps into the game, which is alarming in and of itself, given that, you know, current situation of things. They keep claiming to us that there's not a skeleton crew working on Warhammer 3, and yet anytime we make serious requests for updates or new content that really shouldn't be that hard to produce, we're told, oh, no, that's not possible for us to accomplish right now. So anyway, mini rant over. We're just going to have to suffice with, you know, total tournament map pack for now. And hopefully we get, you know, at least one new Domination map in the year of 2023. That's kind of my expected pace of development for Creative Assembly at this point. So, that being said, Spore is going to bypass defenses here and just get straight onto these mortars. I forgot to go over the starting armies and the reserves, so let's just quickly cover things now as they unfold. We've got Noctilus, some Fellbats up in the sky here, charging into some, or trying to defend the mortars rather. We've got Scurvy Dogs, a couple of shotgun mobs as well, 2 depth guards over on the side, going to be very important, and then 5 zombies to occupy the home objective. For Empire, Marcus Wolfhart leading the way. Celestial Wizard, interesting choice. Not always super common with Empire, but reasonably decent. Empire Knights, of course, Knights of the Blazing Sun, currently making their attack run through the trenches. We got some Swordsmen, Spearmen, Crossbowmen here. Swordsman and Spearmen, of course, getting cheaper in the last patch, so this man spam wide Empire build works much better. For Medley's Foul Vampire Coast, we've got 1 Death Guard, 2 Sirens, 3 Scurvy Dogs, 2 Animated Hulks, 2 Zombie Deck Droppers, 4 Bats, and 4 Zombie Pistol Mobs. For Reichland's Reserves, we've got a Warrior Priest, 5 more Heavy Cavalry, 1 Knight of Blazing Sun, 3 Reichsguard, and 1 Empire Knight, 2 more Crossbows, and 3 more Spears. Let's go ahead and get to full speed here as the Knights fighting off their opponents here. Nice Comet Bombardment is going to be dropped onto the Gunners, forcing them to move, but they don't quite move in time and do still take significant HP damage and unit model damage on both units, and are actually just going to get crumbled out. So Empire jumping out to a huge value lead with this aggressive forward-facing play here. I love to see that heavy cavalry attack aggressiveness from the Empire. So often I see Empire players playing sort of passively and reacting to their opponents rather than trying to force the initiative with their own heavy cavalry. And I mean, Empire Cav is excellent, especially if you notice your opponent, like here, Medley didn't have any halberds or anything else to really protect, and I mean, zombies are slow to react anyway, so the Knights are able to bypass the few fast units they might come across, like these Bats and Wolves. They can get through and get on these squishy missile targets relatively easily. We do have some Animated Hulks coming out in response, Pistol Mobs as well. Pistol Mobs aren't going to do a ton against the 110 armor, rather, of the Empire Knights, but still, certainly will be something. A little bit of a wind blast there as well. And it looks like the depth guards pull up on station. They're going to hide in the woods a little bit here, try and defend from those crossbow bolts somewhat. Marcus is also using his ammunition to shoot at zombies, which I think is a pretty big targeting mistake. I would definitely try and just focus all your shots on Noctilus if possible, or else just turn off fire at will and save your ammunition for more expensive important targets. I mean, whittling away zombies, your swordsman can beat those zombies no problem. Whereas instead, if you were side-shotting into these depth guards and possibly killing off their unit models, right, that would be a much better target to shoot at. Right now, the depth guards are going to get into combat here, running across this little square. Absolutely fantastic. Nope, just kidding. Nice net from Marcus right in the face is going to lead to them eating some serious crossbow fire. Crossbows aren't focusing on one, though. They're kind of spreading their damage across both of these targets, which, again, a little bit of a targeting mistake by Spore here. But let's see how he's able to press his advantage. He's got a very serious 3,000 point value damage lead already on the Vampire Coast, which is something I personally love to see. Nothing against Medley, just, zombies need to get crushed sometimes. Meanwhile, over here, the Fellbats try and move in to take out the Hammer of the Witches, but are unable to do so. The Hammer is continuously shelling zombies. Again, I don't know, a little bit of a mistake here, perhaps. If you were able to get a bead from the cannon, I think, yeah, you could definitely get line of sight to shoot over onto this objective and try and blast some of those depth guards. It's definitely, even though the Empire are playing very aggressive initially with the Cav melee force, still needs to keep in mind target priority, right, with those missile units. But speaking of cavalry attacks, just keeping the Vampire Coast artillery shut down is definitely very effective. Cost-effective use of these Reichsguard here. Well, I say cost-effective. They get countercharged by animated hulks and dragged down. That's not going to be cost-effective at all. Bats here, moving up to potentially go after the Hammer once more. But, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. The Empire Knights, the Reichsguard, can come just cycle charge all these zombies to death. You don't really need to be spending your ammunition from Marcus or the Hammer on those targets. They would be much better off shooting these depth guards, who did manage to come through with zombie and Noctilus support and completely clean out the state troops defending this objective. I mean, apparently that net and crossbow fire did a little bit of damage to him, but certainly not enough to finish the units off. And with their hunger regenerating in melee, they didn't even lose. They only lost 2 unit models through that whole ordeal. This unit lost a little bit more, 12 unit models there, but still have plenty of healing cap space left to sustain. So that's one of the things about depth guards. If you're going to shoot them to death, you really need to focus fire and make sure you eliminate the unit, or at least kill as many unit models as possible. Alternately, cheaper greatswords. Greatswords might seem like a risk in this matchup, but given how prominent and powerful depth guards are, I would probably take a couple of greatswords just in case in reserve to act as counters for depth guards. They'll trade fairly cost effectively, even if they still lose. The cheaper cost definitely makes them a decent trade, and especially if you can get some kind of buffs. If you've got Heavens here, maybe you'll take a little Harmonic Convergence. That will definitely help them win out. Instead, we're going to see another Comet drop again on zombies here, which is just not the best value play in the world. Not to mention, Winds of Magic, as you may have seen in the reserves. I don't know, I might have to splice in the reserves in kind of an awkward place. Yeah, the Sirens could be a problem later on in the game if the Empire player doesn't have the Winds of Magic left to deal with them. Likewise, Hammer of Witches is also not firing right now. It's been knocked off the Hammer. Off the cannons, rather. They need to get back on there and continue firing. But like I said, here come the Sirens. They're going to prove to be a huge problem if Empire loses their magic damage. And the Celestial Wizard, animated hulks came to support their zombie bros. And the Celestial Wizard all of a sudden is in trouble as his cavalry support starts to get smashed by angry anchor fish monsters. He's going to now move out and try to just attack the Sirens himself. I mean, certainly, if you can force them into a beautiful blob and get a nice wind blast down the line, that would be a great way of dealing with them. But the Death Guards and the Sirens are 2 of the primary units you need to worry about against Vampire Coast. Beautiful charge of some Reichsguard right into... Nope, they actually... I don't know if they have a charge order. Yeah, given the low amount of damage done to the Death Guards, it looks like those Reichsguard unfortunately didn't even have a charge order, which is definitely a bad situation, but we'll see. Death Guard trying to continue push through there. Noctilus is taking serious damage from focus fire. Nice net there, and Marcus just focusing him down. Unfortunately, though, Marcus has used up a lot of his ammunition shooting unimportant targets. I'm not sure he's going to have enough to actually finish Noctilus off here, but the state troops are moving in, doing their best to try and combat these undead foes, but nice Pit of Shade's going to be dropped by Noctilus. Nope, he decides instead to pull up another zombie summon just to tie down those crossbows and prevent himself from taking too much damage. And yeah, there we go. Now, after the summon, then we see the Pit of Shades dropped on that nice swordsman blob there. Sirens moving in, and although this blob looked like it was going pretty badly for the Vampire Coast, Noctilus is able to recover that greatly. Although, on the other side, Depth Guards are finally getting properly crushed. Come on, show us a good charge. Knights of the Blazing Sun. Well, it was a decent charge. They found one little gap there, partly charging through their own troops, but regardless of double envelop sandwich on both of these Depth Guards, and they will be shut down. relatively short order. I mean, certainly that hunger will help stave off the crumbling damage for some time, but eventually they will drop. The Empire, if we take a look at the objectives, haven't really been paying much attention to this so far, but things are looking pretty decent. The Celestial Wizard did come back from route over here. If the Empire player is able to notice in time, get them into action, they can come in and start to push back the Sirens, but the Sirens are proving to be a problem. It helped come through, and their terror leadership damage at this point. Physical resistance will be a lot to deal with. Let's see, Knights of the Blazing Sun, certainly with high charge. That's one way of dealing with these physical resistance ethereal units. You just do enough damage to kill them outright, and that should work fairly well. You can see the swordsman kind of maneuvering to try and give the Knights of the Blazing Sun an open charge lane. Beautiful stuff. Not the best open charge lane, but it's still something, certainly. And the Sirens there, the damage surprisingly low from that charge, but still they are doing some damage, which is important. Meanwhile, Empire, yeah, finishing off the depth guard there. Finally, though, Medley's able to get some of her mortars online and start to fire away. Sirens, much more effective of a blocking unit against these cavalry because of the faster speed they have, and the terror and armor piercing and just everything else. They're going to be much more effective at, stopping those tattered knights from getting at the mortar, and then the mortar in turn will be very effective at blasting state troops. So it's a tough situation for Spore to be in, but let's see how he can continue. The crossbowman hitting the wrong target once again. Definitely need to be firing at those depth guards there. But let's see here. The Sirens that overextended are punished very severely. It does look like, yeah, the caster either got retreated or I'm not sure exactly what, but maybe chased off. But regardless, unfortunately, I don't have the UI mod active to see how much Winds of Magic each player has, but if Spore has enough Winds of Magic left, then he could potentially come in and do a nice job of eliminating some of these infantries. I would also probably, honestly, retreat Marcus. Yeah, it looks like he is withdrawing Marcus there, and then try and save the funds to bring him back in, because ultimately, if you can fully refresh his ammo and nets, that will be a huge potential for damage output as we move into the late game here. But that does require Spore to save his supply, so let's keep an eye on that top corner there as we also look at the mortar fire landing. Sirens coming through with terror, terrifying away these low-health state troops. And then, yeah, the Knights of the Blazing Sun coming to try and support this position. It's going to be pretty tough, though. There's a lot of enemy unit models in this area, and Knights of the Blazing Sun are mostly unsupported, although this charge will look very nice initially. The rest of these troops should be moving to this objective rather than trying to press forward on objective number 1. Just concentrate all resources right here, since this is where the decisive fight is going to take place. But instead, Empire player kind of trying to split push both objectives at the same time, which ultimately is going to result in neither of them being captured very quickly. And here, actually, Knights of the Blazing Sun and other units all get terrified away, so attack without support ends up failing anyway. We do get some Knights of the Blazing Sun in the back line here, trying to go after the mortars, but they get caught up in zombies and blasted by shotgun hand cannons. Same thing over here. These Reichsguard trying to get through to get on missile units, but we'll see. I mean, maybe if Spore is able to recapture this objective with enough time, maybe I'll be eating my words, but we'll see. Right now, Vampire Coast looking very strong here with the Sirens, animated hulks, lots of zombie support as well. Pistol mobs, everything. Everything you would possibly need. Even deck droppers with pistols up in the sky. Well, the Empire, you can tell, is kind of realizing this objective is completely lost, reorganizing, and trying to get some of their forces to protect their home objective here. Meanwhile, they're still trying on this forward push here. Got some swordsmen coming back from route and some other units, and certainly the Cav can help with this type of a forward push. But we're seeing now that the Empire's just having a hard time with the amount of HP that Medley's able to put on the field here. And some crazy strong point-blank fire from the hand cannons as the Empire Knights eventually do make contact. I think people are starting to warm up. Given the experience with the Iron Hail Gunners from Cathay, I think people are starting to warm up to the hand cannons a little bit in certain matchups and certain situations where the range isn't so much of an issue. Although I still think probably handgunners are better in most situations. I don't know. Hard to say. The burst from the shotguns is very real, though. And again, this forward attack kind of split push, not enough resources on either objective to actually win, means this forward push also is now getting kind of pushed back. And Spore, again, switching his focus over to this objective. So kind of the back and forth switch and indecisiveness here, costing him big time as Medley just feasts with the bats and the sirens and whatnot on some value here, drawing closer and closer back. I mean, that 3,000 value lead is, you know, it's been much higher at points, but definitely Medley's been doing a great job hanging around and not giving up and just taking whatever opportunities are presented to her and continuing to fight. And oh man, if the mortar could land a shot right here, they're like extra dense blobbed up. That'd be absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, I think Noctilus ended up getting retreated as well because he just took too much damage there and was not able to recover. Probably had no more Winds of Magic anyway. But both players not resummoning their lords at this point. Spore, I think, at times has had supply. It does depend on Marcus's kit, but in the area of like 1,700 is what I would expect in terms of victory tickets. But instead, he's bringing in more Knights of the Blazing Sun and whatnot, which, you know, I definitely understand. But Marcus coming off this Vanguard point, he has Vanguard, right? Am I crazy? No, he for sure has Vanguard. That would definitely be of a big benefit as well, but we'll see. Now Knights are just running around trying to clean up these missile units, but they really should just all concentrate right here. Like, this pistol mob really doesn't matter at all. Get these Empire Knights, get these Knights of the Blazing Sun, and come just do a huge hammer and anvil, and you could actually decisively defeat all of these undead units. And there's still enough time. I mean, Spore's not too far behind on objectives. Looks like the Knights eventually are coming through, but again, this one Empire Knight, like, just going off to do its own thing. Maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh, but it's just one of those things. In this game, in land battles, in domination, in almost any situations, supporting your troops properly is one of the biggest keys to victory in terms of having your units the right place at the right time to coordinate a combined arms effort in order to defeat your opponents. Like, you almost never want your units fighting solo. Like this right here, these Empire Knights way out in space with no one around. You know, positionally, that's a big mistake. You definitely want those guys somewhere where they can be helped and help other units. Anyway, like here, do a great job of just multi-collapsing with the cab eventually, and all these units are going to get crumbled out. One more Siren tries to come in to reinforce, but they can get double enveloped by these Empire Knights now, realizing they need to return to this objective, and all this concentration of force should also allow Spore to take this objective. And, oh, it's going to be close right now. Yeah, he is in 3-cap territory, I think. Yes, 3-cap territory. So, that's a tough situation to be in. You know, he just wasn't able to get this objective quickly enough away from Medley, and that's why I think ultimately that kind of third quarter split push was probably what ended up costing Spore the game there. He was in a pretty commanding position start, but again, Medley, credit to her for staying calm, staying focused, taking what opportunities are presented, and getting back in this game in a big way. Closing in on victory now with about 70 more seconds left, a little over a minute, just defending one objective. Let's fast forward through this late game as Empire kind of makes their doomed final advance here. There's very little chance they'll be able to take this objective in time. Yeah, I mean, their units can barely even get there in time, so it's going to be a nice victory for Medley. Great comeback win, and I love to see some different maps, and just in general, nice to see the, I mean, not necessarily nice to see the Vampire Coast win, but nice to see that the nerfs didn't completely nerf them as a faction into the uselessness, and wow, man, those hand cannons, quite impressive performance, I have to say. I definitely see the value on domination, maybe more so than land battles, where you can force more short-range engagements, but definitely need something that I need to look at again, I should say. Sirens also did a great job. Animated Hulks, super cost-effective, trading into Empire Cavalry, as long as they don't eat charges, which they ate very few charges here. Pistol mobs also with Vanguard and everything are just insanely strong as well. From Spore's side, the cavalry play was generally excellent. A few smaller mistakes, and I would say two big ones. The two biggest mistakes that ultimately costed Spore the game was the targeting priority mistakes than that split push as well. But definitely a great game to him. Yeah, obviously a lot of great value across. Actually, yeah, a lot of the units, I mean, crossbowmen's pay for themselves. State troops, I wouldn't necessarily expect them all to pay for themselves. The swordsmen generally did a good job trading into zombies. Crossbowmen get some, yeah, really nice value, actually, on the ones in the starting army. Same thing with these cavalry. The cavalry and reserves didn't do quite so well. Celestial Wizard also pays for himself, but again, I think targeting priority-wise, it would have been nice to maybe save a little bit of that Winds of Magic until the Sirens come out. Yeah, it would have probably been nice to try and nuke them with some of that magic damage, but hard to say. It's easy for me to say that in the commentary. It's much harder to actually do it in battle. So credit to both these players. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.